The winter anime season always seems to deliver. From Dangers of My Heart and Farron from last year, Onimai and Bungo Stray Dogs before that, Dress Up Darling and Vanitas and so on and so forth. This year we not only had a handful of new properties to enjoy, but also a massive slew of beloved series returning, all contending for that best of the season. We had House, but with a small waifu. This hot mage totally bond mergered the Red Ranger. Amazon is now shipping excavators to another world. We found out that Jinshi has a big frog. Sung picked an S-rank sniffer over Joyous Party. What an idiot. Shippers are devastated when they find out this girl is actually an aunt. This moonwalking vampire is thirsty for this boy. That's wrong on so many levels. Gun-toting Americans in Dr. Stone World have stormtrooper aim. How can you say no to the Shisei Chomp? This girl really likes violating past authors' written emotions without their consent. Squirrel Shizuka, Cool Shizuka, Tsundere Shizuka, Bunny Shizuka, Small Shizuka, Fortnite Shizuka, Shoulder Shizuka, and finally, world peace-inspiring Shizuka. Girls fought desperately against human-erasing aliens. No, seriously, that's the plot. No, really. I was informed that I dodged a bullet by dropping Blue Box. I wonder why. Tasokare Hotel is up. Belle Cranel nearly ended a civilization by rejecting best girl Freya. Classmates of talented figure skater claimed she was doping on worms. This guy that reincarnated as a cat managed to not sleep with his massive thirsty harem. A woman isekai to another world taught an entire self-ending cult the wonders of simping for a fake husbando. This protagonist is the only guy in the world that is mad that he body swapped with a hottie. I'm still not over this pocket lolly being called Kune. I'm sorry, if I'd seen this, I'd quit my dreams of being a monk. And I still don't know what a fish daddy is. Jokes aside, and yes, they're jokes, even though the comments will still forever think that I'm being serious with a lot of this stuff. Some of it's actually true. After completing the season, putting together a top 10 list was truly difficult. I came down to a diverse spread of different genres that all excel in their own unique ways. Just know that all these shows are special, and I can highly recommend each and every one of them. But still, it's funny to watch me suffer as I try to figure out which one goes above another one. So with all that said, this is my top 10 anime of winter 2025. Kicking things off with my number 10, the show that barely got into the list, that had to fight with a lot of honorable mentions, and yes, that is The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. The show about a guy isekai into another world and bond mergering with the hot mage. Yes, that show. I have to admit, I am not a massive Super Sentai fan. Yes, I had my days of being into Power Rangers and whatnot, but that's all in the past. I've just never really resonated with Super Sentais. They're fine, but at the same time, it's not something that I gravitate and go after. The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventure in Another World just worked on so many levels, and I think a lot of that has to do with both seeing that passion and that love for Super Sentai, but at the same time having it kind of thrown into an isekai mix and having all those jokes mixed in there that sort of makes you resonate with the characters of the isekai world. Because yes, the concept here is that yes, the Red Ranger of our world ends up being isekai'd into a fantasy world with magic and all that kind of stuff. And very quickly he gets enlisted by this mage that is currently trying to become like the head mage of the kingdom by doing some sort of breakthrough. And so she wants to study him because he has the powers of a Red Ranger. He's able to transform and use all these abilities and has to yell all of his attacks out, and they're super powerful. So what comes from it is you have this mage that's trying to figure out his abilities, so he's sort of like all the not inside crowd of the Super Sentai fans. She's the one that's the straight man going, why is there an explosion behind him when he poses? Why does he yell his abilities? Why is his attack so freaking powerful? She's trying to figure out what makes him tick, and so seeing that straight man humor of her going, this is absurd, is exactly what I'm saying at the same time. It all just works so perfectly. I hope that Super Sentai fans are enjoying the music and the vocals and all the stuff that comes from the Super Sentais and finding fun in that, because me as an outsider, I get fun of it making fun of it. And so I think it kind of works possibly for both crowds there. Either way, I absolutely love these characters. Red is so kind of oblivious main character, do-gooder type of character that just absolutely works. And like I said, I absolutely love Yidra's character. She's the mage and her reactions to everything he does. Plus kind of over time getting that little bit of a Doki Doki feelings in there. There's like a little bit of blossoming romance that I think just absolutely works for it. That yes, kind of blossoms the moment that he first saves her life and she just gets all Doki Doki before he poses and explodes and knocks her off in the distance. The comedy just absolutely works. I will admit that like the later 2 episodes, it starts to get a little bit too heavy. I would probably say more like 4 episodes, but still having a nice sprinkle throughout it that kind of keeps that comedy going. Despite when there's a heavy moment happening, Red just says something so stupid in the middle of all of it that it really gives you that, oh yeah, this is the protagonist guy. He's still gonna say this stupid, overly simple ideas of coming together and bonding and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you're a Super Sentai fan, if you're not a Super Sentai fan, but you want to see something that kind of makes fun of it, it just absolutely works. I think the only criticism I give the show is that, yeah, the CGI is kind of blah. It's too shiny. The CGI is just too shiny. But I had way too many laugh out loud moments that it completely overrides it. Moving on to number 9, I have Flower and Asura, a series that I had a lot of expectations for, and I'm glad that a lot of it delivered on it. Yes, a series that was being done by Studio Buying, which I love their work, and yes, from the original creator of Sound Euphonium, which I adore Sound Euphonium. The series follows Hana, who loves doing recitations. She likes reading stories in front of other people. Well, she gets the attention of somebody that actually leads a broadcasting club at the new school that she's going to, so she quickly gets roped into going to that club. And after joining the club, we kind of meet different individuals from the club itself, each having their own thing they're going for, whether it's announcing, recitation, or just doing sound effects for different broadcasts. And each one of these different characters has a different driving force, what kind of pushes them to do what they want to do. You have Matsuyuki, who has parents that don't want him to do clubs like that. Only focus on things that's for your future. You're becoming a doctor, you're going to do this. You have An, who used to be in recitation, but she moved over announcing, and the question mark whether or not she's doing something that she actually enjoys. Just different characters and what's kind of driving them and what also is kind of holding them back and kind of overcoming those different things. It's a series that tackles a lot of different subjects in a very beautiful way. And yes, mixed within there is some really great directing that kind of just emphasizes whatever they're doing. Yes, recitation is the idea of telling a story, and a lot of stories you're going to get kind of swept up into it. If she's talking about a story of being bound down or restrained, you'll have all these thorns kind of appear around the character and is pulling them down. And I think Studio Buying did an incredible job of portraying that. And I love the fact that every single one of these different recitations tells a story that is sort of critical for the character in the moment. If something is weighing them down, if they are at a crossroads, all that stuff sort of hits the character and it's something they kind of get swept up into. And I absolutely love it for that. The reason why it's down at 9, when initially I think when I had my early list, it was way up there close to 1, if not 1, is it, yes, there's a few points in the series that is sort of kind of a lulling point. But overall, I absolutely love it and I really need another season. Moving on to my number 8, I have, yes, Solo Leveling second season. I absolutely love the second season of Solo Leveling. Yes, I wasn't a massive fan of season 1. I think it was fine. It just was a fun action show. That's really what I felt. It was a character that's supposed to be underpowered, but then he gets overpowered very quickly, and everybody gets doki doki for him because he's so super cool. But I wasn't really fascinated by the story. I like the kind of unique uses of the abilities, like, you know, using his daily reward in order to restore himself, that kind of stuff. But overall, it was a power fantasy. Second season exceeded my expectations and so much more. Yes, it still has the incredible animation, great set pieces, fantastic music by Sawano Hiroyuki. All that stuff is still there. It still looks great and sounds great. Now we're finally actually having me interested in the story. I'm now finally interested in the story. I think the characters, what they've kind of introduced, the mechanics, the overall plot lines, this is where we're finally getting interested. And I think it was really the point in which you had the monsters finally kind of speak up. They talked. And now I'm going, holy crap, this is opening the door to a lot of my theories that I had very early on that kind of felt like they weren't going to be touched. Now we're finally getting into it. I'm kind of interested in this other world. What's going on with these magical beasts? Is this actually a different other world, or are they just creations from the portal itself? All that stuff is kind of coming to the forefront, bringing a lot of these S-rank characters together, them all suddenly being interested in song, what that means politically, the different governments, the different countries. All that stuff is where it's finally grabbing me. It's finally got me by the throat and it's saying, oh yeah, I'm finally interested in this show. I want to see the next episode. I want to see the next episode. That stuff is what's really grabbed me. Now, I will say it's still down at 8 for me, even though I'm hyping this up like crazy, just because I still don't think this writer does good with characters and emotion. And I think that's probably going to be a very focal point going forward. I just don't feel characters like Sung. My heart doesn't break for him, despite the fact that there's very emotional moments in the series. I don't think it really has done well with that stuff. But I'm hoping that it kind of corrects that stuff. I'm hoping as it goes forward, since the writing in season 2 has gotten much better, I'm going to hope that the writing gets better for Sung's character as it goes on. Either way, I'm loving the show. Cannot wait for more. Moving on to number 7, I have Ishura second season. My gosh, I just love so much about Ishura, and it's one of those series that's very difficult for me to really kind of describe. But essentially, it takes place in another world where you have the appearance of people called visitors. They're people from different other distant worlds that come there, and they have extremely powerful abilities. But yes, at some point, this true Demon King appeared, and he was causing mass devastation. He was just going around destroying all of civilization. Well, thankfully, this hero appeared and took down the true Demon King. Cut forward, the different people of this world are trying to rebuild their lives. You know, kingdoms are sprouting up. They're trying to regain power. And yes, with that comes conflict. Different kingdoms and different rulerships are trying to claim land and snuff each other out. Well, mixed throughout there, you have one main kingdom, which is Arietia, is trying to decide who was the hero that defeated the true Demon King. The way they're going to do that is they're going to actually bring all the most talented and most powerful people, yes, a lot of those including the visitors, bringing them to one place and having a massive tournament. Whoever wins the tournament will be crowned the person who was the hero that defeated the true Demon King. Yes, there's an obviously question mark there, is how would that actually decide that, but it's all kind of the element of what really is the true intention behind that. And as the series unfolds, we get to meet a lot of these different individuals and what their actual abilities are. Yes, a lot of them being extremely OP, and you kind of wonder how they could even fight each other. But that's always kind of the intrigue the series had. I think at the core of what I love about Ishura's series overall is really just the characters. Yeah, I kind of think one of my biggest criticisms of the series overall, I think it's probably an anime adaptation issue, that it's very difficult to follow the overall story. The aspect of what are all these different factions, the different kingdoms, different names are kind of dropping constantly, the different generals, who's backing them, which person is backing which kingdom and which faction. All those kind of things are very kind of muddied in the anime adaptation, at least. But it's fine for me because I think it's understandable enough, but at its core, what I love about it is each one of these characters. Most every single episode is kind of introducing one or two characters that are brought to the forefront. Different individuals that are from different locations, have different personalities, have different abilities, have their own story, what's driving them, and each one of them I find extremely fascinating. With this season, we get the giant Melee, who is this guy that's just got a massive heart of gold, and he just takes these massive rods and he's able to shoot them like arrows. Kuro the Cautious, who's able to kind of see into the future. Linares the Obsidian, who's like my new favorite because he's this vampire that's absolutely hot, and she's able to control anybody who's like in her vicinity. Like, she's like a vampire, but you just have to be near her to be infected by her. Like I keep saying, it reminds me a lot of Fate's Day Night. It has that same kind of feel of having these different individuals with incredible powers and having some deep-rooted story behind them. Either way, I can't wait for more. Absolutely love it. Ishura second season, my number 7. Moving on to my number 6, yes, The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You, Season 2. I absolutely love 100 Girlfriends, and there's so many reasons that where I even start. For those that don't know what the series is about, it's about Ritaro, who has very bad luck in finding girlfriends. Everyone that he confesses to, he gets rejected. And at some point, he goes before this god of love, and the god of love says, yeah, we kind of screwed up. I also put you down for 100 girlfriends. Oopsie. Better return their love, because if you don't, misfortune will befall them. And so it kind of follows Rintaro as he bumps into different girls, and very quickly Doki Dokis happen. He realizes, this is one of my soulmates. I have to return their love. And then very quickly he realizes, you know, the two of them actually realize at some point that there's something about the other person that they really love, and then they be brought into the harem. And at this point, we're at 11 now. We're at 11 girlfriends of the 100 girlfriends that he apparently is destined and has to meet and fall in love with. But I love this series overall. This is kind of proof that harems can still happen. Like, shows can still do harem, and it still feels fresh. And yes, it's playing off a lot of the tropes you get from harems. You have a tsundere, you have the thirsty girl, you have the lolly, you have the silent type, you have the mama type. You have all the different archetypes, but it just does it so well in a way that's very unique and refreshing. It's taking the tropes, it's making fun of them, but at the same time doing unique stuff with it. And I think at the core, one of the things I love most about this series is that I like Rintaro's character. He's like a very rare MC that he's not the whoa, there type. He's not the indecisive one. He's not the one that's trying to get away from the girls constantly. He's a type that's accepting their love. He's showing them true love, and he's doing really fantastic things for them. He's nurturing them. He's taking care of them. He's finding ways to support them. He's actually a cool guy. He's a guy that I honestly, for a harem show, go, I back this dude. I root for him. Go, Rintaro. You're amazing. I'm falling in love with the main character, dude. It's just got a great cast of characters that I absolutely love, and I can't get enough of them. I still think I find the original cast the best, the first season cast to be the best, but I'm hoping as maybe third season comes around, hopefully these new characters that they introduced in the second season will kind of get a moment to shine, because I don't think that they have quite cemented themselves quite yet. It's an amazing series overall. I absolutely adore it. I will admit in the second season, there was like 2 episodes that were kind of shrug for me, which is I think the only reason why it's down this low. But overall, I highly recommend it if you're looking for a harem show, especially if you're the type that got tired of old harem shows and you're looking for something different. Give it a shot, because I think even if you are sick of harem shows, you might find this to be the one that actually has a refreshing take on it. Moving on to number 5. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Season 5. Yes, a nice stark contrast to the previous one, where we had a main character that accepts all the harem members, whereas in Danmachi, this boy does not want to accept anybody, enough that in season 5, it literally nearly ends an entire civilization. Legit. I'm not joking you. Belle rejecting a harem member literally almost ends a civilization. But yes, for those who don't know, Danmachi Season 5 did technically end in the winter season, and I absolutely loved that season. I was really enjoying Season 4, and I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of people was pointing out the fact the writer finally got involved with the series, and that really does feel like it was present in Season 5 as well. This season is essentially the Freya Familia, which yes, it's kind of been in the background for quite a while now, and we're finally seeing it come to the front. Freya, who is the leader of the Freya Familia, she was very much so obsessed with Belle. Well, now she finally makes her move, and that's what this season overall was. And yes, mixed in there is a story of Seer, Horn, getting into the Freya Familia themselves, all the members of the Freya Familia, and eventually having Belle get involved with that before things just hit the fan. And I think overall it did an incredible job of kind of getting into how all these characters are kind of intertwined, which is the best way to put it without spoiling things, because I think this is one of those rare seasons of Danmachi that you technically can spoil. I found it incredibly interesting. It really dives into the element of minds themselves sort of blending in a way, and I think the way they kind of explored a lot of that stuff and how the characters can kind of be warped because of that was really well done. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, without saying any more, I love the season. Really fantastic characters. More Freya. I'm not going to complain with more Freya. But overall, highly recommend it. Again, it's one of those difficult shows to really recommend because we're 5 seasons in, and it's only really gotten really good recently. But hey, if you're looking to pick up a new series, definitely give it a shot. All right. It is time for the top 4. I say top 4 specifically, and I isolate this because technically 2 through 4, I struggle with placements. These 3 next shows are all amazing for their own reasons, and I really struggled with where I was going to place them. But in the end, I chose number 4, Orb on the Movements of the Earth. I love this show so much. I think this is going to go down as one of those shows that's just so unique, does something so different, has just compelling storytelling, amazing characters, and just so much thought-provoking stuff within it that you just cannot pass up. This is probably going to be one of those shows that down the line, I look back and I go, 10 years from now, go, oh yeah, you looking for a unique show that's really incredible? Go watch Orb. This is going to be that show. A show that really does stand out from the crowd doing something completely different. For those unfamiliar, it takes place in a time period where geocentrism is the prevailing thought about how the universe itself works. The idea that the Earth is at the center of the universe and everything orbits around it. And yes, taking place in an area where the church itself has a lot of control. It's brought a lot of peace to the land, and additionally, a lot of people kind of go to the church itself for comfort. And we zero in on Raphael, who is an individual that is trying not to rock the boat. He's somebody that used to be an orphan, he was adopted, and he's just working really hard to get good grades, get into theology because everybody loves theology, just do whatever he can to make sure that his life stays comfortable. Well, at some point, he ends up meeting a heretic who recanted and was set free. And this guy ends up presenting to Raphael the reason why he became branded a heretic, which was his study on the concept of the movement of the Earth. The idea of the Earth itself is orbiting, heliocentrism. Well, Raphael at first decides to decline this, saying that it's stupid for you to go against the church, but additionally it doesn't make sense scientifically. Well, at some point, he ends up getting inspired to look into it more, and yes, he goes crazy with it. He realized that it actually could work, and he starts to dig into it like crazy. And this is a spark that ends up spreading throughout the entire series as we're introduced to different characters who are either on the side of the church, like the Inquisitors, trying to snuff out the idea of people having heretical thoughts. Individuals that are part of the church that realize the current models they're using are flawed, that want to seek out something like this. It's really a nice perspective of both the scholars that thirst for knowledge and seek that truth, even though the threat of death is right there. Individuals that are trying to stop the scholars and snuff out the sparks they're trying to create. meet. People that are not involved on either side that sort of get swept up into it as well. It's a sort of a series of baton passes, so to speak, that are kind of passing on this knowledge and trying to make sure that it gets proven before it can be brought to the public. And the way that it portrayed all that stuff is absolutely beautiful. Madhouse working on the show, it doesn't seem like it had a massive budget, but the directing and the work they did for it was absolutely beautiful. A lot of the moments of the characters having some sort of inspiration or pushing themselves or seeing their possible death before them all were beautifully portrayed. I think overall this show was just an absolutely beautiful show that, like I said before, at the end of the day, I'll look back at a show that is super unique that honestly a lot of people should not overlook. Yes, it has some struggle points for me personally towards the later part that is the only reason why it was brought down to 4, but it's still like a must-watch show. Like it's still like up there as nearly a perfect show that I highly suggest everybody check out. If you've not watched it, please go watch Orb. For my number 3, I have Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Season 2. My gosh, I am so happy Hanako-kun's back. I love this series so much, and it's been so long since season 1 came out. I thought it never would, but here it is. It's one of those shows where I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. And it's here, and I love it to death. There's a few reasons why I love Hanako-kun so much. For those unfamiliar with the series, it takes place at this academy where they have the 7 wonders, the 7 mysteries of the academy. It's kind of similar to a lot of schools in Japan. They'll have these mysteries, like the steps that you have to climb up a certain way, or, yes, Hanako-kun, the toilet-bound Hanako-kun, where you knock on the door and you say Hanako-kun so many times, and they will come out and grant your wish. And it follows Nene, who, yes, does try to use Hanako-kun, try to get him to grant her wish, and then she ends up getting swept up into the wonders, all these different mysteries of the academy itself. But yes, there's multiple reasons why I love this show so much. First of all, I love how this show looks. I adore the designs of this show, the style itself. It just oozes from my screen. I just resonate with the style this series has, and the studio does a fantastic job of nailing that aesthetic. And another reason why I love this show so much, and it kind of piggybacks off the first one, because the aesthetic kind of lends itself to this, is this series loves to kind of shift the mood very quickly. Where you'll have like a fun, bubbly, goofy moment, you know, everybody's having fun, and then suddenly out of nowhere, things just get really serious. And it shifts so well, because this series, this story, does have a lot of very tough subjects that it's getting into. It's getting into death. It is getting into loss. It's getting into the struggles these individuals have, spirits with regrets and whatnot. It manages to really gut punch you out of nowhere. And it's a mood shift that I'm not bothered by. There's a lot of cases where tonal shifts happen in stories, and I hate it. You'll have a very difficult moment happening and a character gets goofy, and it doesn't work for me. But for this series, it just works. And I think a lot of it, again, is due to the fact that it has a really great style that really does carry it. And yeah, a really fantastic cast of seiyus. Hanako's seiyu, my gosh, the Lady Slayer seiyu herself, she is absolutely incredible, and I could not pick another seiyu to fit that role. She really does nail that character, because Hanako himself is very twisted in a way. This is somebody that shouldn't be trusted, has a very dark past, but Nene Yasuro, the main character, really wants to trust him. Wants to trust him because she sees the good in him. And again, that kind of extends to a lot of the other characters. These are a lot of people and apparitions and whatnot that have some very dark pasts that should not be trusted, and can very easily double cross them, but it's trying to kind of find what's at the root of their problem and gain that trust. But yeah, overall, season 2 was incredible. I absolutely love this season. Things got a lot more heavier, getting into Yashiro and something that's, you know, putting her in danger currently, getting a glimpse into Hanako's past and how he really is desperately trying to save Yashiro. It's just getting much more heavier, and I'm extremely excited to see where the next part goes to. But yeah, I highly suggest the series. If you've not checked out this series, please give it a shot. I love it to death. Cannot wait for more. Moving on to my number 2, yes, Yuri on Ice. The cute lollies on ice. What more jokes can I make about this series? I love Medalist. Medalist is easily my number 2, even though I did struggle with it in Orb and Hanako-kun. Medalist is an incredible series that I cannot wait for more. It essentially follows a girl named Inori, who Inori is trying desperately to learn how to figure skate. She watched her sister do it in the past. Her mother badly doesn't want her to do it because her sister got injured. And Inori has a lot of problems with finding things that she enjoys that will kind of make her stand out from the crowd. She's always kind of isolated at school. Everybody kind of sees her as kind of dumb, somebody that cannot be relied on. She's not a part of the crowd and whatnot. But figure skating itself is something that she's found that she's really enjoyed. Well, she ends up catching the attention of Tsukasa, who is sort of a failed figure skater. In his past, he took way too long getting into figure skating. He got into it way late, and thus he wasn't able to progress like a lot of people do. With like a lot of sports, you got to start really, really early. And so his prospects for being successful in any way was kind of stunted by the fact that he waited too long. Well, he sees Inori in the fact that she's working so hard and she's very afraid of telling her mother what she wants to do, kind of gives her the bump that she needs. Says, hey, don't wait too long. You need to start early. Again, really kind of pressing upon her what the mistake that he basically made. Well, Tsukasa ends up becoming her coach. She gets into figure skating, starts to really kind of push herself, learning the different jumps, the routines and whatnot for figure skating and getting her licenses and going to competitions. But yes, overall, what really makes Medalist really fantastic is the characters. These characters just absolutely grab at the heartstrings. Yes, very young characters who are just trying to seek out their dreams and struggling with anxieties and things that come from a young person trying to push themselves to the limit. And it's very beautifully portrayed in this series. I think Inori herself, she's just got that smile that you want to protect. She's got that beaming smile that absolutely just grabs you and says, I want this girl to succeed. I'm going to cheer her from the sidelines. But it's not just Inori herself. All these different performers, all the different figure skaters they introduced in this series are just characters that very quickly you want to root on, which is, yes, kind of that struggle that you have because you want Inori to win. You want Inori to succeed, but then you meet the other characters and what they're going through, what they're struggling with. You know, this character has a growth spurt. This one's got a lot of pains from the growth spurt. This one is just too full of themselves and doesn't want help from anybody else. This person has a wrong impression about why they hate somebody. Here's the rival character for Inori. Every single one of them has their own struggle and their own past that they get into that just make you want to root for every single one of them. And yes, even Tsukasa himself, and the fact that he just absolutely hates his past self, hates how long he took, hates that he was a burden upon other people. All that stuff gets into, and I love every story they've got into so far. Mixed within there is a very good looking show. I wasn't really sure when I first seen the PVs for the show if I was going to be okay with the figure skating itself, because yes, they utilize a lot of CGI, but it's really fantastic CGI. And I think the thing that carries the CGI a lot is the fact that they actually mocapped the performances. Like, they actually had figure skaters do the performance, they mocapped it, and did the CGI over it. And they did a really good job of actually blending the CGI into it. The style itself really, really worked. I mean, there's one point where Tsukasa does a performance, and I was like, I didn't think it was going to be CGI. Like, I had to look at it. If I had to sit there and go, is that CGI? And I realized it is eventually. That's a telling sign they did a good job with it. Yes, there's some performances that are actually 2D drawn done. Like, they have Ryo at some point does a performance, and I think they didn't want to make a model for him, so they did it in 2D, and it looked great. The performances itself are fantastic. But obviously, the thing that works so well with it is that there's a story being told at the same time. These are characters going through something, they're overcoming something, and there's a performance to go along with it, and you're just going the entire time, please win, or please don't stumble, or they stumble and you're going, holy crap, please get up. Like Inori early on, she has a stumble, and she gets up and she beams her smile, and I say, oh my gosh, that's why I love this character. Yes, girl, get up and go. Like, this is one of those rare cases of a sports show where as I'm watching it, I'm screaming at the screen going, go girl, go, you can do it, or go boy, go, you can do it. Like, I'm rooting for these people, like, just do it, yes. It's fantastic, like, through and through fantastic. The emotional impact scenes, the mother accepting to back Inori, which absolutely gut punched me. Tsukasa and his fears of being a burden upon this one family gut punched me. Again, every single one of these characters overcoming something every single time my gut just wrenches and I go, please do it. When I can almost jump up and shout at a screen, that's a sign of a fantastic sports show. And I highly recommend Medalist. Please don't sleep on it. And then it comes down to my number one anime of the winter 2025 anime season. Drum roll. Yes, without a doubt, ReZero's third season, part 2 technically. My gosh, I cannot get enough of ReZero, and it just keeps cementing every single season, every single episode. As it keeps going on, the writing keeps getting better and better and better, and I can't get enough of it. I think the one unique thing about this part specifically that really did kind of elevate it quite a bit for me is that even though this is a segment where there is a lot of combat happening, yes, Subaru and company is going up against the witches cult, the archbishops. So obviously, fur's gonna fly, blood's gonna spill, all that kind of stuff. But still, amidst that, having so much intrigue, so much story, and so much stuff developing amidst it. Like, this could have been simply just, yeah, Subaru and company, boom, 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 explosions, all that kind of stuff. Oh, is this person gonna die? Question mark. No, there's story happening here. We're getting story and development for these characters amidst all this. Getting into Reinhardt, the Austria family, really, let's just say the Austria family. Just Austria family. This family is so damn broken. Getting into their family, Wilhelm, his past with the Sword Saint, all that kind of stuff, fantastic. Reinhardt, my boy. I hope nothing's wrong with my boy. Going through something that I think is going to be a struggle in the future. Getting to Priscilla, her coming to the forefront. Yes, even getting to Regulus and his wives and all that kind of stuff. The mechanics of the world itself that it introduces. Getting Capella at the forefront. Yes, massive question marks around Al. Al constantly dropping sus remarks. All this stuff sprinkled within just all-out war. To be able to do that is really what kind of sells me that I love this writer. To be able to still tell stories amidst combat and chaos tells me I'm going to love this story even more so going forward. I don't need an entire 8 episodes of Boom Booms. I don't need just nothing but, punching and kicking. I want story. I want depth. I want characters. I want mechanics. And this writer says, here's the plate. Bon appetit. And I eat up every single bit of it. Plus, on top of that, the studio itself did an incredible job with this whole sequence. All the combat sequences himself. My gosh, Garf going crazy. That whole combat sequence with Garf was incredible. The animation of the season was absolutely fantastic, and I could not get enough of it. My gosh, if you're not watching it, I don't know why you're not yet. You've probably chosen this point, so I'm not gonna really push people one way or the other. I think most people are just, if anything, looking at this as confirmation bias or, my gosh, how stupid can you be? I love it. I can't get enough of it, and I cannot wait for the next season. Highly recommend it. My number 1 of the winter 2025 anime season, ReZero, season 3, without a doubt. And that's it. That is my top 10 list for the winter 2025 anime season. I know people are going to ask about it, and I can tell you right now, yes, Apothecary Diaries is not in this list because, as per usual, the show has to end in the season. But yeah, Apothecary Diaries second season is still doing absolutely incredible. I'm sure it'll probably be my top 10 list for the spring season, but I'm still watching it, and I absolutely adore it. If it was included in my list, it would probably be around it'd be 4. Probably 4. It would probably be my 4th place. I don't think it'd beat Hanako-kun, Medalist, or ReZero, but it's incredible still. For my honorable mentions, I really enjoyed watching Dragon Ball Daima. It was kind of, again, sort of the last work that Akira Toriyama worked on. It at least gave me a nice showing of one of my favorite characters that was not supposed to be canon, which is Super Saiyan J4, which was incredible seeing that. I love Tasokare Hotel, even though that show is so mean. Tasokare Hotel is so interesting and so mean, and I loved it for that. I think it would have ended up on my list if it weren't for how it resolved. I think the way that Tasokare Hotel sort of ends sort of rubbed me wrong because it sort of undoes what made it so good, which is the fact that it's so brutal. And so I still enjoyed it, though. I still enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed Zenshu. It does have a lot of lulling in there, but I think overall it turned out to be a pretty solid series at the end. I also love Medaka Kuroiwa is Impervious to My Charms. That show actually turned out to be quite charming, for lack of a better term, charming in the end. Impervious to My Charms, it's charming in the end. For the most part, the girl carries it. The main girl absolutely carries it. I didn't really care so much for Kuroiwa himself, but Queen Bee Girl, she carries it. She's just absolutely adorable. I loved her constantly being flustered. It's basically a teasing girl, but she doesn't know that she likes him. And so she's just trying to win him over because she wins over everybody. And so she's just trying to get his attention because he won't give it. And she's over time realizing that she actually likes him in the end, which is super cute. And yeah, I really enjoyed I May Be a Girl Receptionist, but I also Any Boss to Clock Out on Time. I think that show is heavily carried by Ria Takahashi, and it was a lot of fun. I do feel like the later half of it, though, just kind of gets too swept up in just dungeon diving. Like, it's a show that's supposed to be about a guild receptionist that wants to clock out on time, but it just turns into another adventure show. So I think that was sort of something I was fearing early on, and it ended up actually happening, which kind of bums me out. But it was still fun. She's still super cute. I enjoyed it in the end. And the last one I want to mention is, obviously, from Bureaucrat to Villainess. I really love that show. It was a lot of fun. It's basically an Otome game isekai, but it's like an old bureaucrat that's a dad that gets isekai'd into the Villainess's body. And it's just so much fun. I really enjoyed his character. He's just a good dad, and he's just trying to help this girl's life not be horrible. And even though he's trying to be a villainous most of the time, it just blows up in his face every single time. And it turned out to be really a fun ride in the end. But that's it. That's my top anime of the winter 2025 anime season. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what your top list is for this season. What actually stood out for you? I hope you guys found something in here that you might actually enjoy, and you pick up one of these shows and you actually enjoy it for yourself. But if you like this content and you want to support on more, I have links in the description below. Until next time, y'all take care.